Good morning, everybody. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 10 of the cross-country trip. Today, we're in Portland, Oregon, and unfortunately, this is the furthest west we're going to be for the rest of the trip. We start our 44-hour drive back to Williamsport, Pennsylvania today. Had a great night with our friends David and Bryce last night. They just headed out, and now it's going to be a solo trip for the rest of the way. So we're going to be taking the fastest route home, which is 44 hours. It's just going to be cutting right across the middle of America. So without further ado, let's get the day started. So we finally get on with our drive. Then disaster struck. So as Stacy was taking this time-lapse clip of us driving, we were going around this curve on a bridge to get onto the interstate. And basically right here is where I started to hear this rattle. It sounded like a rock was like stuck in the wheel or something, and it was like rattling. And I just ignored it. I didn't want to make her worried or anything. So I just ignored it and didn't say anything. And then we get maybe not even a quarter mile down the road, and then I hear something like fly out from the back. It sounded like a rock got cut up and then it flew out the back. So I was like, okay, it was just a rock. And then it happened again, and then it happened a third time. And at this point, Stacy's like very concerned. She's looking at me like,
what's happening?
She must look over at the temperature gauge and she sees it's at the middle. And so she's like,
oh my gosh, Lucky, oh my gosh, it's overheating.
And I look at the temperature gauge and I'm like, oh crap. It's overheating. I gotta get off the highway, but we're like on the interstate and I don't know when the next exit's gonna be, and the temperature gauge just keeps climbing. And for whatever reason, Stacy thinks that when the temperature gauge goes all the way up, the car just... He was hitting me and like,
Logan.
and I was just like, calm down, okay? I start to try to wiggle my steering wheel to see if maybe it was the position that the wheel was in or something that was causing this rattle. But I noticed that the steering is extremely hard, which led me to then believe that I lost my power steering, which was correct. Finally, I see a green sign ahead, and I see that it says the next exit is 3/4 mile. The heat's all the way up to half right now, and it's continuing to climb. Then we're half a mile away, and the car's at 3/4. And then finally, when we get to the exit, it's all the way up to the red. But it was only there for like 10 seconds. I get up to the exit and I have to absolutely like crank the wheel with all of my force to get it to round this corner and park in this residential neighborhood right off the highway. And so this brings us to our next clip. Okay, we got an issue. Car's at max heat. Something was spinning.
God, it smells.
The belt flew off. How did that happen? No, your alternator's not seized.
Is it just a belt?
No, something caused that to come off. Oh, you're leaking. What is that? Antifreeze.
Oh no.
Yeah, you're leaking antifreeze. Water pump, maybe.
Coolant doesn't stay in the same place. Instead, a water pump keeps it circulating in a closed loop. In turn, the pump is normally rotated by a belt drive that is powered by the crankshaft. This type of pump is known as a centrifugal pump.
Well, this is not an ideal way to start the day. The water pump's bad, so basically what happened is I was driving, and then we were hearing like a zzzz. It was like a really bad like stirring noise, and then we started hearing like rocks slinging out. I was like, maybe it was a rock caught up in the belt or something, but then we kept hearing it, and then I noticed the steering got pretty tight, and then the car was like overheating like super fast. It was like really fast. Luckily there was an exit half a mile away, so we're sitting here now just trying to get my brain together. We'll be seeing David and Bryce again. Time has come. We're back to where we started. I'm not gonna be recording much of this because it's really just more important for me to get it done. Basically what I'm gonna have to do is take out the power steering pump here. I'm just gonna put it over here, keep the cables attached. I gotta take out the alternator down here, and then I gotta take off the belt tensioner pulley right here, and then I can get a little bit of access to the water pump, which look, that's what's wrong. I'm gonna explain what happened to the best of my understanding. There's several pulleys that are all ran by the drive belt, and if a pulley turns or it's misaligned with the belt, then your belt will fly off. So that's what happened in this scenario. The water pump pulley became misaligned, which is why the belt flew off and I lost my power steering. But the water pump, there's a seal on the inside there. So as you guys saw in the video, the coolant meets that seal and then goes into your engine. When the pulley became misaligned, the seal on the inside broke. All of that coolant that was hitting the seal and going to the engine was just going straight outside the engine. So that's why the engine was overheating and it was dripping coolant. Back to the video. That's why the belt flew off. And then we have to take off this mount here. And in order to take that off, we're gonna have to jack up from underneath at the oil pan. I'm just gonna get started on this. Probably not gonna document much of it, just get it done. Now the alternator is out. Okay, this is the failure point. This is what failed for us.
We did end up having to get a hotel for the night so that Logan and David could work on fixing the element. It is taking longer than expected. Y'all know how it goes. I went ahead and took advantage and I did laundry. I'm about to start folding it. There is David and Logan working on Lucas. Okay, I'm all done with the laundry. Now I have to go get the bins out of the car to put everything up. Me and Bryce are kind of hungry and wanting to go to another escape room. So we might go see if they're willing to stop what they're doing so that we can do that. All right, now we're gonna go check on the boys. How's it going?
Terrible. And if you can tell by David's facial expressions, I f***ed up. So David left to go to the store to get some of the parts that we needed to do the repair. And I took on the job of taking out the components that were in the way of the water pump. A power steering pump, alternator, belt tensioner. And when I was taking out the alternator, the main bolt, the big one that goes in the top, there's only one bolt in the top and 2 bolts on the bottom. So it's a pretty important bolt that has to be there for it to be safe to drive. It was pretty stuck in there. And I've dealt with this before being up in the north. So I was wiggling it, going left, going right, tapping around it. Didn't have any WD-40, but that probably would have helped. But long story short, I broke the bolt. I snapped the bolt off into the engine block, and it's just basically an enclosed hole that the bolt goes into. I pulled the whole bolt out, and it only had 3 threads on it, and the rest of the bolt was inside the block. I could not put this bolt back in place. What was gonna have to happen was we were gonna have to drill out that bolt and put a new one in. So after Stacy filmed this clip, we started to try to drill out the bolt, but the bolts that are in there, I don't know what they're made of, some sort of steel. We could barely even put a dent in it. We got to about maybe a quarter to a half inch out of it, and we just called it quits. We threw in the water pump, tightened all the bolts down, basically ended the day there. And for us to be able to get home, we are gonna have to drill out that bolt, put a new one through. Things get good tomorrow. We'll see you then. Peace.